Catholic Moments, episode 129, the 13th day.
Finding joy in the journey and hope in the heaven yet to come.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Moments. And now, here's your host and my mom, Lisa Hendy.
Thanks, Eric, and welcome everyone to another episode of Catholic Moments, the show from CatholicMom.com, where we talk about all things faith, family, and fun from a Catholic perspective. And this week's show is going to be just a little bit topsy-turvy. I'm getting ready to head out of town tomorrow for the weekend, actually recording this on a Tuesday, which is a little bit unusual. But I've got a long to-do list today and also a very long show because I'm very happy to share with you today the press conference that was held just this morning featuring the debut in the United States of the wonderful movie The 13th Day regarding Our Lady of Fatima and her apparitions. And I'm really thrilled to be able to share the press conference in its entirety with you. But prior to that, we have a few announcements, a little bit of good stuff from our regular contributors. And I'm not actually going to be speaking very much today. Basically, I'm going to give you some introductory remarks and then kind of just let the show roll. So you'll be hearing from me first of all, and then from our wonderful Deacon Tom Fox with his Deacon Moment this week, another in our ongoing series featuring wonderful priests during this year for priests. And of course, the very lovely and wonderful Sarah Reinhardt from SnoringScholar.com will be here with this week's Merry Moment, which feels very timely given the fact that most of the show today will be dealing with Our Lady of Fatima and this great movie, The 13th Day. But before we get into the movie, I have to give you a little bit of news just about some great things that are happening in SQPN, the Star Quest Production Network. Many of you who listen to this show found it through my affiliation with SQPN.com. It's been about 2 years now that I've been lucky enough to be an affiliate of that wonderful network. And the beginning of Advent also means the beginning of the giving campaign for SQPN.com. This is a time once per year that we come to you and ask you to financially support this nonprofit organization that's doing so much in the use of new media to spread the gospel message around the world in really new and creative ways. You know, my show is a very obviously traditional Catholic show. We have a lot of Catholic guests and Catholic topics, but over at SQPN.com, you're going to find shows dealing with everything from cooking to gaming to movies, the latest in popular culture. And it's really a terrific way of reaching out to people who enjoy new media topics to consume information and then eventually may find their way over to SQPN.com to find out more about the church. And so it's really the time of the year that we ask you to consider making a donation, which would be a tax-deductible donation to an organization that's going to help you to spread the faith that you love so much to other people. So you're going to hear me a little bit during the next month asking for this, asking for your support, and I want to let you know that we welcome any size of donation. We know that this is a difficult time for many families, and so for many of you, any kind of contribution at all is not possible. And in that case, I'm going to definitely ask for your prayers for the organization. It's really at a crux of being able to move and grow so tremendously, but we need your prayers and we need your support. So if you could do that for me, that would be great. If you would like to donate, and if you are able to, please do so. I'll have links in our show notes for you to head over to SQPN.com. You can make a one-time donation, or you can do what I do, which is have a monthly donation taken out by PayPal or by your bank account. And there are lots of different ways to show your support for the organization. Another way, is if you have a friend who maybe you're going to be sharing the gift of an iPod with for Christmas, why not preload that with some of your favorite SQPN.com shows? And we would be forever indebted to you if you are someone in a parish who is able to put an announcement into your bulletin about this, or just any way that you can find to creatively support SQPN.com. And speaking of SQPN, this weekend where I'm going is actually over to Captain Jeff's house. I'm headed out to Atlanta on an early flight tomorrow morning. When you listen to this, it will likely be Wednesday, and I'll be flying all day over to Atlanta, getting picked up with David Sweeney of The Catholic Family. You know and love that show too. And we'll be heading over to the Jeff Nielsen house, where his lovely wife Linda is so graciously hosting us for a few nights before we head over to the SQPN strategic planning meeting that's being held this weekend in a retreat facility. We'll be meeting for 3 days to get together and really focus on the shape of how things are going to go for the next year. So please keep that in your prayers as well. And also, if you're lucky enough to have XM Sirius Radio and you love the Catholic channel like I do, I'm going to be on this week on Thursday with Greg and Jennifer Willits. You'll hear David Sweeney and I on their show. And I'm so happy to be getting together to see Greg and Jennifer of the Rosary Army and good friends of mine. So I'm really thrilled for that. So it's been a busy time anyway. And I think that's about it. I'm not going to give any feedback this week. I'll hold that for next week. Let's just start off with listening to our good friend Deacon Tom. Again, then we'll hear from Sarah. Then we will hear the trailer for the movie The 13th Day. I guess maybe I should say a few words about that before I let things roll with that. You may have heard about this movie. It's making the rounds in the Catholic circles, and many parishes across the country have actually already screened the movie in their parishes, and 13 large cities across the country were chosen to have special screenings as well. The movie is being released today on DVD and in a special DVD package actually by Ignatius, and you have your opportunity to get your hands on this movie now. I watched it this morning and can't tell you how moved I was by it. I do need to say, for many of the families that listen to this movie, I would really recommend that you parents watch the movie yourselves before you share it with your children, because there are some scenes that are a little bit intense and might be sort of frightening for younger children. So I'm going to ask you to pre-screen this one. We'll play the trailer before we play the press conference, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get in a question at the press conference. There were so many people on the line, but I know that you're going to really find it's fascinating to hear from the actors, the directors of the movie, the producer, and the great folks over at Ignatius who are sharing their information on what's involved in this special DVD release of the film The 13th Day. So without any further ado, that's enough from me. Let's hear from our good friend Deacon Tom Fox with this week's Deacon Moment.
Dear friends, greetings from God's country. To all Catholics who appreciate the gift of the priesthood during this year of the priest, Catholic Moments has been making a monthly effort to bring a message concerning the men who move us, the men who care for us, the men who feed our hearts and souls and bodies with the word and bread of life. If any of you have been or are currently a part of the charismatic renewal, you've probably heard of Father Tom Forrest. He's been a prominent leader in the renewal and in teaching peoples of every land and nation about the love of Christ and about really living the Catholic faith we profess. It is no exaggeration to say that millions upon millions of people have heard his preaching and motivational talks in every part of the world. If I knew an address to use to send mail to Father Tom, I would do it as I've already done with other priests this year. I would send a letter to him and tell him how much he has lifted my mind and heart and how much he has challenged me. If you haven't done something like this during the year of the priest, please try to reach out to one. Let the priest in your faith walk know that through his humanity and frailties, you recognize the mantle of his becoming in persona Christi to you, to his flock. Share with him that he has been a gift and that you know it's a challenge for him to be a priest these days. While I mentioned Father Forrest and the fact that he has challenged me, I came upon a quote from a book of his. The title is Move It Out, Sharing the Mission of Christ with Zeal. Father Forrest wrote these words: "If I walk in the light of life, but with that light illuminate the pathway of not a single person, and if I feast on the bread that ends all hunger, and the drink that takes away all thirst, but lead no one to the Eucharistic banquet table, where is the love of Christ in me?" Well, there you have it. Through our baptism, a priest gave us the green light to shine the light of Christ on the pathway to eternity for others. And through the Mass, a priest gives us the food that is meant to fully satisfy every hunger and thirst we have. And if we don't lead others to know of and participate in this heavenly food, can we say we have the fullness of the love of Christ in us? If not, Father Tom Forrest and this deacon say, move it out. Thank you, priests. Thank you, Father Tom. Blessings. This is Deacon Tom.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth.
And my name's Sarah Reinhardt.
It's time for Merry Moment.
I'm transported back to a time full of cafeteria food and camp songs. It's a rowdy group of kids, led by a song leader, singing about joy down in their hearts. The air's full of summertime, a week of swimming, crafts, canoeing, exploring, singing. I grew up the daughter of a camp manager. For me, camp wasn't a week-long event, but an entire summer of adventure. There was excitement packed into the daily routine of behind-the-scenes life. There were frogs in the pool and dogs in the cabins. There were emergency phone calls to make and supplies to refill. There was a shortage of counselors and an open 30 minutes to fill with song. The word joy brings the smell of the swamp to my nose, reminds me of the summer bugs, and prompts me to humming an assortment of catchy group tunes. In that word is my childhood. There were parts of my young life filled with pain, of course, but when I think back to it, it's the joy of camp life and life in the country that comes to mind first. I remember the many cats we always seemed to have, the fallen tree that became my hidden refuge, the maze of dikes that never failed to provide an escape. In my young adult years, I don't think I ever considered joy. Joy was for kids. I was after happiness. Wasn't joy just another word for happiness? I'm a few years removed from those tumultuous young adult years, and when I think of joy now, I immediately think of my 2 young children and the joy they experience and that they bring to our lives. But joy isn't just for kids. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's for the kid deep within each of us. Maybe it's for the child curled up, protecting herself from the pain of the world. Maybe it's for the cynical teenager whose voice has never really gone away from our mental dialogue. When I see Mary's statue, pristine and immovable, at the front of our church, I immediately notice how different we are. What does she know of my life? She could be light years away from me. Her joy seems different than mine, less earthy and applicable to my messy life. Yet we honor her in her title, Cause of Our Joy, precisely because she isn't distant or remote. She's right here, beside us. The title Cause of Our Joy began in antiquity. Perhaps it is one of the oldest of Mary's titles. Its purpose, then as now, is to remind us all of her role in each of our lives as a result of her yes. She said yes to God, and by doing that, she said yes for each of us. She brought us the Savior in an intimate way, through her womb. She opened the door to her heart, trusted in God, and gave us all the most beautiful gift. In saying yes to God, Mary allowed salvation to take place. By agreeing to motherhood, she caused the joy I feel at the Christmas midnight Mass. Without Mary's yes, there would be no Christmas. When I find myself eye to eye with Mary, I see that joy is something all around me, waiting for me to see it. Maybe Instead of limiting Mary to the statue in front of the church, I should picture her stained with a day's work, lovely despite her disheveled hair, beaming though exhausted from laundering and lifting and cooking. She holds out her hand, once again, asking me to come with her to see something. I know her look. I've used it with my own children. There's a great surprise waiting for me, and when I go with her, I see that Joy is a person, and that she is the one who led me to him. Until next week, when we continue our Advent journey together with Mary, my friends, may Mary help you to see the joy her Son brings to your life.
You say the woman spoke with him?
Yes, Padre. Padre, surely you do not believe that the Virgin Mary appeared to these children?
It's true, Mama. We saw her come down from heaven, and she was so beautiful, Mama.
I tell you, these lies will bring the wrath of God down upon our heads.
We have worked too long for the priests to undermine us with more fairy tales.
What makes you so special, Lucia dos Santos?
What if it is true?
The children, they need to answer some questions.
You think this is some sort of game? Withholding important information from the government is an offense punishable by death.
I'm not afraid.
I just can't understand why she is doing this to us.
Maybe she did see a beautiful lady floating in the sky. How do you know what they're capable of?
See? I told her she would come.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd also like to thank you for our patience. We had just a couple of technical difficulties joining everybody. As you may have seen from the information you've received, we have people joining us from all over the globe today for this very special teleconference call. My name is Christine Schicker. I work for the Maximus Group, and we are very excited to be working with Ignatius Press in letting Catholics know about this amazing film, The 13th Day, which we're excited to announce is today is the public release of the DVD. Today we have a unique opportunity for you, the media, to personally ask questions of the filmmakers, the actors, and representatives from Ignatius Press, who are the North American distributors of the 13th Day. We also have joining us other experts on Our Lady of Fatima. What I'd like to do is give brief introductions of those who have joined us today from around the globe, and then Anthony Ryan from Ignatius Press will have some comments before we begin taking your questions. We do invite you all to ask your questions, and we'll take as many as we can get in our time frame. First of all, joining joining us is Natasha Howes, who is the producer of The 13th Day. This is her first feature film that she's produced, and Natasha joins us live today from the United Kingdom. We have writers and directors of The 13th Day, Ian and Dominic Higgins. They have been writing and visualizing movies since they were young boys, and they love to tell a good story, which we believe they have done with The 13th Day. This is their first feature film, and they are also joining us live from the United Kingdom. We are honored today to have with us Ms. Filipa Fernandez, who plays Lucia dos Santos in The 13th Day. This is also her first film, and Filipa joins us live from Portugal. Anthony Ryan is the Director of Marketing at Ignatius Press, who joins us from California, along with Mr. Mark Brumley, who is the CEO of Ignatius. And last but certainly not least, Father Andrew Apostoli joins us from New York. Father Apostoli is a founding member of the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal and also an expert on Our Lady of Fatima. As many of you know, The 13th Day is based on the memoirs of Sister Lucia, as well as many thousands of eyewitness accounts. As we've seen, the filmmakers tell an accurate and relevant story about the mysterious appearances of a lady in white to Lucia dos Santos and her cousins, Francesco and Jacinta Marto, over a 6-month period in Fatima, Portugal. The events depicted in the film transpire between May 13th and October 13th of 1917. The lady, who was later revealed to be the Virgin Mary, gave incredible prophecies and warnings to the children that included a harrowing vision of hell, the timing of World War II, the spread of communism, and the attempted assassination of a pope who was later revealed to be Pope John Paul II. All of these prophecies have come true. The 13th Day was shot on location in Portugal and the United Kingdom, and the film has a cast of hundreds to recreate the scene of thousands who witnessed the miracle of the sun. And with that, I would like to turn this over to Anthony Ryan from Ignatius Press, who would like to say a few words before we start taking your questions. Tony?
Thanks, Christine. Good job on that. I'd also like to, I think you might have left out the possibility of actress Jane Lesley joining us. I don't know if Jane is with us yet, but she is the actress who plays Maria dos Santos in The 13th Day, and she is hoping to join us today at some point in this conference call, and we look forward to that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, from Ignatius Press in California. I realize that's actually not morning for most of you around the United States. It's the afternoon, and for our friends from Europe, it's actually evening. It's a unique opportunity for all of us to talk on the telephone, have a press conference on the telephone, and Ignatius Press is honored. We're excited to be so deeply involved with this wonderful new feature film on the important true story of the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima in 1917. Really the first major feature film on the story of Fatima in over 50 years. So, you know, the timeliness of it is crucial and important, and we're excited to be a part of it. And besides being a film that tells a great story in a moving way with a very important message, which is something I'd like to talk a little bit more about in a second, I'd first of all like to take this opportunity to congratulate and thank our friends from Europe who are with us today, who have made this compelling and powerful film, which we think is so beautifully produced, well written, with a unique artistic look, especially thanks to the work of the Higgins brothers, as well as others who made this film, and includes, we think, fine acting performances by everyone in this film, and especially including the two actresses that are with us today. Finally, what we really love about this film is that it tells the story of the Message of Our Lady of Fatima in an accurate way. It's based on the memoirs of Sister Lucia. So we have a combination of great entertainment, catechesis, and evangelization, all brought together in one film. And some people have called this film an antidote for our times. We think that's true. It's a reminder that a thin veil exists between our world and the next. The Message of Fatima's it's really a relevant wake-up call for a culture that's torn apart, by so many evils today. And it's a film that can appeal to anyone, Catholic, Protestant, non-believer, even Muslims. So we think this film has an appeal that's very wide-ranging. And, it's a film that Ignatius Press is doing more with than any other film we've ever licensed, which is saying a lot, because we've been fortunate to license some outstanding films made around the world. But this film we're going all out to use to be shown everywhere because of the message. It's a message-driven film for us. The power of Our Lady's promises that she made at Fatima, as told in this movie, and that if we respond to those promises, which are still as relevant today as they were back then, we can help bring peace to the world, and we can change our lives and the lives of many people throughout the world. We also know, as Christine alluded to, though, that she had dire prophecies that if we didn't respond, World War II, the spread of communism, assassination of the Pope, and so forth. But again, there's hope, as told in this movie, that if we do respond, and we can still respond, that we can change the world. And finally, the other important connection we see in this movie is the connection that Fatima, the story of Fatima, has with Muslims, which in today's world is so timely because of what's happening with Muslims and Christians around the world. And that is told very well by Archbishop Fulton Sheen in an essay that we reprinted in the film booklet that's with the DVD about, in his opinion, one of the most powerful ways to reach Muslims is through the story of Our Lady of Fatima, her message, especially because they have such reverence for her as shown in the Quran. And perhaps later in the discussion, Father Andrew Apostoli, who's an expert on Fatima, can expand a little bit on that. So, at any rate, this film, in our opinion, Ignatius Press, has so many compelling things about it. And as I say, we're excited to be a part of it. It's already been seen by many thousands of people throughout North America because we've launched screening efforts beginning on October 13th when we had major screening events in 13 cities. And we've been helping and working with Catholic organizations since then to have their own screening events. We have a screening package we put together. And it's probably been shown now in close to 150 different locations in this country, actual screening events, often in actually movie theaters. So besides being shown in church halls, schools, and so forth on big screens with, hundreds of people attending, it's actually been shown in theaters by a lot of these groups. They've rented movie theaters. So this film has, in a way, had its own theatrical release. I'll close my comments by saying that today is the day that we're releasing the film officially on the DVD release. And I want to just close with talking about the components on this DVD. Again, it's something that we've really gone all out to make this a powerful tool for evangelization on this DVD. Besides, of course, the great feature film on it of the movie, we've added a bonus production, an hour documentary film with Father Andrew Apostoli exploring the message of Our Lady of Fatima, so that those who see the movie and they want to know more about the details of the message can go to the menu and watch this film with Father Andrew. In addition to that, we've included a 24-page companion booklet, which has all kinds of great information about the story of Fatima, the message, the making of this movie, an interview with the Higgins brothers. It's just jam-packed with great stuff about Fatima. It's really kind of a little catechesis on the story. We've also included in the DVD a Fatima prayer card, and even a rosary. So, we've never done something like this, but we actually include an actual rosary with the DVD and a rosary prayer leaflet with all the mysteries and the prayers. So that the DVD is actually then a powerful tool for entertainment as well as evangelization of the message of Fatima. So I think, again, thank you for everyone joining us today. I think that will conclude my remarks, and at this point I'd like to turn it back over to the operator for handling the next part, which will be the questions.
At this time, if you wish to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to ask your question.
As everybody is calling into the operator to ask their questions, we do have some pre-submitted questions that I will start off with. And this first question goes to Ian and Dominic Higgins. Why did you want to write a movie about the events at Fatima, Portugal, which occurred more than 90 years ago?
Okay, well, we were originally approached by the film's producer, Natasha Howes, to create originally to create a 10-minute reconstruction of the final miracle of Fatima, Miracle of the Sun. So we started to do some reading up on Fatima, some research, and the three of us, myself, Ian and Natasha, flew out to Fatima to look for locations and to try to find out a little bit more about the story behind the miracle. And of course, what we found there was a very special place, and really one of the most beautiful stories that we've ever come across. And it was on the way back on the plane that we all agreed that we had to tell the story. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes. And so we were very lucky to have both a producer that shared our vision and an investor who was willing to take a huge leap of faith with us. So that's how we set about writing a feature film.
The story of Fatima, I would like to say, though, is actually probably more relevant today than it was 90 years ago. So in that sense, it's still a very modern story for a modern audience.
Very good. I think that, operator, we have a question from Joseph Pronishin from the National Catholic Register.
Yes. For Father Apostoli, Father Apostoli, what are some of the most successful part or two of this film in presenting the story of Our Lady of Fatima and our requests? Maybe even the miracle part, because that's obviously extremely difficult to do. But whatever part you think are most successful.
Well, Joseph, I think that the effect this film makes is a very powerful one. But if you want to go into specific parts, I think one of the things that struck me was the courage that the children had. I think this comes out very powerfully. I've never seen that before. The courage the children had to accept this request of Our Lady, would you suffer? See, the basic message of this film is Mary calling all of us to what I call the co-redemptive mission that we have through our baptism. In other words, Jesus, by his death and suffering, his life, death, and resurrection, has won for us the merits of salvation. But he wants all of us, especially those who are baptized, to join with him in the work of bringing this message and the merits of salvation to others through the church. This is the role of the church. And you see that so strongly. What I think, what comes across powerfully to me is Our Lady reminding all of us through the children, that she's calling us to prayer, to sacrifice. As she says, many souls are lost from God. There's no one to pray and offer sacrifices for them. This comes out so strongly. And, you see that with the children in the way that they are suffering. I was just, especially the scene where they're in, the government official, dos Santos there has them, like in prison there, and then he's questioning, especially you see that like with little Francisco, and he said, "I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to die." And the look on that, the government official's face is like disbelief. Can a little child be not afraid to die? It just, I've tried to point that out to different people, Of course, the way the vision of hell is presented, it's done with great sensitivity, but it makes its impact, and that's a very important part of the message. I'm writing a book for Ignatius right now, and I just dealt with that whole meaning of that. Why did God allow little children to see a vision of hell? Well, it's got a powerful meaning. It's a reminder to all of us, and that's done very well. And of course, the miracle of the Son. But all through it, that theme of the children, their need to have courage. And, when you think of little children, 10 and 9 and 7, going through what they did, it's got to make an impression. And I think this is going to affect young people. I was a little child when I saw the first movie years ago that had come out on Fatima. And Fatima has made a kind of impact on my whole life. And that's why I was just enthralled with this movie. But those would be, some of the things. But I caught the message of Our Lady requesting these children, would they be a part of God's plan? And, I think that's something our people need to be called to, to recognize that Jesus wants them to share in his great work of the salvation of the world. And the peace of the world depends on that.
Thank you very much, Father. That's great.
Okay. Thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Joseph. Just as a reminder, if you're interested in asking a question of the writers and directors, the producer, the actors, Father Andrew or Ignatius Press, all you have to do is hit *1 to get in line to ask your question. We do have another pre-submitted question, and this one is for Natasha. Natasha, are you Catholic as the producer? And if you're not, was it challenging to produce a film about this Marian apparition?
I was actually, I was brought up Catholic. I certainly lapsed through my teenage years right up until the point that I started to work on this Fatima project. And I would say that I have, it has been virtually impossible for me not to respond to the Marian Quarter faith through our sort of life investment. It's a 4-year life investment in this project alongside multiple synchronicities and amazing divinely intervened, I suppose, coincidences that have worked along the way. That for me, my faith has certainly strengthened, and I work towards a sort of a more in-depth breathing faith on a daily basis.
Great, thank you. Operator, I think our next question comes from Patty Armstrong from Catholic Exchange.
Yes, I don't remember the name of the lead actress, but I wanted to know how she was chosen, why she chose to audition for this role, and any thoughts she has on this whole experience.
Filipa, I think that question is directed to you.
Okay. Actually, I was in England at the time, and Ian and Dominic, as well as Natasha, went to our school. And just for the fun of it, I went to the casting with some of my girlfriends. I never thought that I would be chosen, because I had no experience in acting before. But they liked me. I don't know why until today, but they liked me, and so I did it. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last question you made.
I'm wondering just some thoughts on the whole experience for you, how it has affected your faith, and if you were a Catholic, what kind of a Catholic before, and if this has affected your faith yourself.
Well, as Natasha, I have been brought up as a Catholic, but I've always been quite skeptical about religion, but I've always been spiritual. But this story is very, very touching, and if you really get to know the story, you just have to believe something really happened, something amazing did happen that day. And if not for the spiritual part of it, it's a life lesson. These 3 children, despite all the criticisms, took their story and made thousands of people believe, and that's amazing.
Very good, Filipa. Thank you. Being from Portugal, were you familiar with the story of Fatima and the appearances that happened?
Yes, of course. As a Portuguese, we have to know the story. It's part of our culture, almost. However, I got to know the details when I was making this movie. A few weeks back, when we were, the 13th of October, when we were in the premiere for the film in Fatima, I mean, Natasha, Dominic, Jane, Ian, they all saw thousands and thousands of people who went through the sanctuary that day. That was beautiful. They saw it. Here they can say. It's part of our culture. It's something very big for us, very important, the message.
Christine, maybe this is Tony expanding on that question from the woman at Catholic Exchange. Maybe we could ask the Higgins brothers how they happened to find Filipa as well as the other two children and how they ended up choosing them. I think that's probably a pretty interesting story.
Well, when casting for the children, we originally looked at using professionally trained child actors. So we went down the stage school route. During the casting process, we realised we wanted someone who could act, not act in the sense that they were performing to the camera. We wanted somebody who was natural. React. Yeah, react. But act with emotion. We started already non-actors, and we went to local schools in Bar here in the UK, which has a very large Portuguese community, and we happened to find 3 kids there who not only were comfortable in front of the camera, but radiated something. We call this sort of old film star quality, where the actor kind of radiates on the screen as they're present, and these 3 children had that. They sort of lit up the screen, kind of like Jennifer Jones in Song for Bernadette, and Filipa very much had that kind of quality to her. And this was very important because we were casting for iconic roles. And the moment for Filipa, the moment she took the glasses off,
we knew we were trying that Lucia.
Very good, thank you. Operator, I think our next question is from Chris Faddis from Living Gracefully.
Hi. This question is for Ian and Dominic also, in similar line with the other 2 questions, was just how did this affect your faith personally? In watching the film, it's very compelling, and it affected even just in the first miracle scene, had a profound effect on me. But in making the scenes and in studying, I guess I'm sure there had to be some form of conversion for you. And then also in your heart, what do you really hope will come from the viewers who get to watch this film?
I think we've always considered ourselves very spiritual. We were brought up Catholic, but we've always considered ourselves very spiritual people. But I do think that making this film has, in many ways, made it even more spiritual. The whole process of this film, making this film, has been unique in that it really has felt like we've been guided, and it's been amazing to see the passion that every single person who's been working on this film has had. It's like a shared passion, because we all had the same goal, and that was because everybody believed the importance of this story. As first-time filmmakers, we saw so many obstacles making this film. A lot of people told us we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. But we always seem to find a way around a problem. So I think all of us felt that we kind of had something watching over us making this film, because whenever we've had a problem, the solution's always presented itself at the end. The story of Fatima, it's a very profound story, and I think it speaks to you regardless of your faith or your belief system. There's a great line, great quote from Lucia's memoirs when she says that somebody told her that there's a language in the world in which the word Fatima means peace. And I think that Fatima means peace in all languages because it speaks to you regardless of your faith, regardless of where you live in the world. It's a universal message, it's a universal theme. So I think that, for us, that's the most important part of this film. That's what we want people to take away. Maybe in Fatima, you're finding a way to peace.
Chris, thank you so much for your question. Operator, the next question is from Genevieve at Zenit. Genevieve?
Her line is open.
Genevieve, are you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. This question is for Father Apostoli. Father, could you speak more about the relevance of this movie's message for the relations between Catholics and Muslims?
Yes, as Tony Ryan alluded to, Bishop Sheen had really brought out a very powerful message there. One quote that I had come across, he said, "You've got to believe that the Blessed Mother did not come down out of heaven to the only place in all of Portugal with a Muslim name just to convert Russia." He said we need the conversion of hundreds of millions of Muslims in order that there be a world peace. And I think, as Tony said before, the Muslim people have a great love of Mary. It's remarkable. Remember, she's the only woman mentioned by name in the Quran. Not even Muhammad's daughter, Fatima, was mentioned in the Quran. And Blessed Mother is mentioned about 30 times. They believe in her immaculate conception. They believe in the virgin birth. What they don't accept is the fact that Christ was Son of God. But Bishop Sheen said when the statues, and like the Pilgrim Virgin statue of Fatima, comes into a Muslim country, a church, a Catholic church in a Muslim country, Catholics have a hard time getting into the church because there are so many Muslims who want to venerate her. I remember a friend of mine who was in Lebanon, and he went to the shrine of Our Lady of Lebanon, and he said there was a Muslim mother with 2 or 3 of her children pointing to the Blessed Mother and saying, "This is the mother of Jesus." And she had such veneration for Mary. And you know, even in Kazan, where the image of Our Lady of Kazan was recently sent back, about 6 years now, by Pope John Paul II, this great icon venerated by the Russian people. Kazan is a city, I think it's about 1 or 2 million people. Half are Muslims, half are Christians, and they get along with great peace. And they all venerate Mary, the Muslims as well as the Christians. And there's great peace among them. And so Mary's like, it rises above the differences between Christians and Muslims. And therefore, in reaching out to her, we reach out above our differences. The differences do not block us anymore because from both sides, we can go to Mary, and she becomes like a link. And I believe that this film will have a great message, you know, for many of Muslim people who have a great love of Mary.
This is Natasha, the film's producer, speaking at the moment. Just as an aside to that, thank you, Father. I would like to add that the 13th day will be showing at the Faj International Film Festival in Tehran, in Iran, in February. And it looks very good for us to actually distribute the movie there as well. There seems to be quite a good demand.
It's great news.
Tony from Ignatius, I'd just like to add to that as well that we, as I mentioned earlier on, we do have the whole piece written by Fulton Sheen in the companion booklet called Mary and the Muslims. I'd encourage everyone to read that. It's very profound. He goes into real detail about what Father Andrew was speaking about. And he mentions, among other things, that, as Father said, it's not a coincidence that she appeared in a town named Fatima, and that the town is actually named after a Muslim princess who ended up marrying a Catholic man centuries ago, and that, Muhammad's daughter's name is Fatima, and the fact that the Muslims have such as veneration for Our Lady, as Father Andrew pointed out. I mean, this to me is crucial part of this whole story, and timely, because of everything that's happening in the world today. And I just see this as a real important aspect of this film, this whole way it can reach out to, obviously, Christians, but also Muslims.
Thank you, Tony. Again, this is Christine with Maximus. As a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, just simply press *1, and we will put you in the queue for asking a question. I do have another pre-submitted question for Natasha. Natasha, do you think that this film project has been blessed by Our Lady of Fatima?
I certainly do, and very strongly. The 13th day, as Ian and Dominic have mentioned, started life as a 10-minute educational short film dramatizing or showing the miracle. We've all worked incredibly passionately to bring the film into sort of fruition as a feature film, but I do strongly believe that has been with a guiding hand. As Ian and Dominic have mentioned, with every problem has been creatively solved, with solutions quite often literally coming to us. There's been a number of what I would define as synchronicities. I'm sure there's an alternative way of defining it along the way through a variety of examples. One being the finding the locations where we actually shot the exterior locations. It was at the end of an extremely long day. It was another long day of trying to find locations, the most beautiful locations for the exterior locations. And it was at the point that we turned in the road. There's just been so many interventions of assistance and blessing that I can only describe this as divinely intervened, certainly.
Ian and Dominic, would you have anything to add to that?
Absolutely. I think we're all in agreement that we definitely received some kind of help in the making of this. For example, the number 13, or the 13th, has been something that's been so phenomenal during the whole making of this film. Natasha's birthday, the 13th of May, which is obviously the date of the first apparition. Our lighting man, who was born on the 13th of January, and he and his wife have just had a baby boy who was born on the 13th of November. So we've had so many signs, if you like, that have been almost too hard to ignore, and they've given us courage, and they've helped inspire us to carry on what often was a very difficult and very challenging project.
Also, on the last day of filming in Portugal with the extras, someone has noticed the sun had a multicoloured ring around it. And one of the extras said to us, "It's time Our Lady is blessing this project." And we certainly feel that she has.
Again, on a personal level, we found that myself and Ian, we've got a personal connection to Our Lady of Fatima through our grandmother, who passed away shortly before we started working on the project. Her church was Our Lady of Fatima here in Birmingham, and the church is on Higgins Lane. So, I mean, that has to be a sign.
That's great. Thank you all. Operator, I think the next question is from Letitia from Catholic Media Review.
This is a question for Ian and Dominic. I understand you have a background in photography, and would like to talk to you about the use of black and white and color in the film. I had to guess in my review what it meant, but I'd like to hear from you.
Our background is art and design. We kind of approached the film. When we were shooting the film, we approached the film as painters. So the aim was to tell the story visually. But the black and white, the idea of black and white, that came really from the research that we did once we started to read about the actual miracle of the sun. There were so many descriptions of the sun radiating various colours, and so that became an important theme that we wanted to explore. Maybe colour in this film has to be something that's like a precious gift. It's only view. It's almost black and white. Almost reflects a world where so much is hidden, and it's only when we're connecting, or the children are connecting to something spiritual, that we see the world as it really should be. And obviously, black and white also it's about light and dark, which again is a very important theme in the film.
Thank you very much. That's what I surmised as well. It came across very effectively. Thank you.
Letitia, thank you for your question. We have a follow-up question from Genevieve at Zenit.
Yes, thank you. This question is for either Tony or Mark. And I'm wondering, what is the connection between the release of this movie and the Pope's upcoming visit to Portugal and to Fatima in May?
I'll let Mark take a first shot at that.
Well, obviously, we arranged to have the Pope visit Fatima because we were releasing this film. I think the connection is that the Holy Father perceives the ongoing importance of Our Lady of Fatima. This isn't simply something that happened 100 years ago, and is not, nor is it something that simply had to do with the collapse of the Soviet Union or things of that sort. It's an ongoing reality. Our Lady's message continues to have relevance, and so I think the Holy Father sees the beginning of the miraculous elements of the true story of Our Lady of Fatima is something that he's commemorating in his upcoming visit. But it's not just simply about something in the past. It's something that continues today to be relevant, and he's underscoring that. And obviously the film isn't simply about an interesting story of something that happened 100 years ago. The film, as especially underscored at the very end of the film, this is an ongoing reality. This is a message that we think everybody should hear. Catholics, Protestants, non-Christians. Tony was talking, and Father were very eloquent talking about the power of the message in reaching Muslims. Everybody really needs to hear this message, and I think it's timely. It's a timely film in the sense that this is, we live in a time where there's a great deal of searching for spirituality. And what I think this film does is it challenges people to be open to the extraordinary as a means of appreciating God's ordinary presence in the world, be open to a message of transformation. Really, we call that repentance, but it's a message of transformation so that peace can be achieved. And so because those things continue to be relevant, this film and the Holy Father's upcoming visit to Fatima are underscoring that ongoing relevance.
That was well said. This is Tony, I just might add that Pope Benedict XVI, as we know, is the successor of John Paul II, who is called the Pope of Fatima. And, it looks that Benedict XVI is just continuing the work of John Paul II to underscore the importance of the message and the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima. And I think that's part of the reason why he's going there and continuing to make that an important message for our times.
Genevieve, thank you for your question. We have one more question from the pre-submitted list. This question is for either Tony or Mark. You've been screening the 13th day across the country, and the DVD becomes available to the public today. Will these screenings continue across the country, and can you explain a little bit about how churches and organizations are using the 13th day at the local level?
Well, I'll let Tony handle that one.
Sure. We have, as I mentioned, on October 13th, we launched the whole idea of screening this film in 13 different cities around the country with major screening events. And then since then, put together these screening packages, and all the information is available on our website, where we work together closely with any Catholic or any organization that wants to have their own screening event of this movie. And we provide them with all the materials they need to make this event a success, promotional materials, posters, postcards, prayer cards, etc. And then the DVDs to sell at the event. I mean, part of what we're hoping to do with the screening events is to, one, give the people a chance to see the movie on a big screen, which we think is the most effective way to see this, beautifully produced film. But also then to buy a copy of the DVD for themselves, to have for their own keeping, to show their own family and friends. And so, we started that on October 13th, and even though the DVD releases today, our plan is to continue to promote these screening events into the future. And we know there's a lot of Catholic organizations, churches, parishes, schools, etc., that want to continue to have these. I mean, after all, there are there's thousands of Catholic churches in this country. So, we've had what we call Ignatius Night at the Movies going on for a few years now, something that we put together to work with Catholic parishes and schools to have movie events with some of our movies. And so we're used to doing that. But as I mentioned early on in this discussion, we're going above and beyond all that with this film because it's so important, so message-driven, and again, so beautifully produced. So we're going to keep working to promote the screening events with parishes, schools, churches, any organizations well into the future. And, we're happy that Benedict XVI is going to Fatima and is re-emphasizing the importance of the story of Fatima. Obviously, the timeliness with that and the release of the movie is significant.
Thank you, Tony. Well, we're almost at our mark for time today. I thank you all very much for your questions. Father Andrew, pardon me, as we are getting ready to conclude this, do you have any other final thoughts about Our Lady of Fatima and her message, to get that message out to Catholics and others?
Yes. When Pope John Paul was shot, he was shot on the feast of Our Lady of Fatima, and even his assailant there, Aliaga, said later on, he said, "Whose feast was it in your church that day? That's the one who saved you." He said, "I'm a professional assassin, and I don't miss." It was Our Lady of Fatima. And when the Pope read all the documentation in the hospital, he made the statement that Fatima is more important now than it was in 1917. Pope Benedict, as Tony just said, successor of Pope John Paul, he was the cardinal who had to go through the third message, the third secret. And he is very steeped in this message and has said that he said, learn the message of Fatima, live the message of Fatima, spread the message of Fatima. And with the world events right now, we can say the world is on a brink of catastrophe if we don't work toward peace. And the Blessed Mother at Fatima made this statement. She said, talking about Our Lady of the Rosary, remember, she said, honor Our Lady of the Rosary, pray for peace in the world, and she said, she is the only one who can help you. And that's why I think the Pope realizes this. It's Mary, her promise, in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. That's what makes this message of Fatima timeless. That's why it's as important now, and more important when we look at the way the world is going. The evils that Russia has spread, communism has spread. We have it in our own country, the secularism, the attacks on life and family and religious rights. This is all the residue of communism. It's only become secularism in our country. And that's why her message is timeless. And, we got Bishop Sheen coming up very soon for his 30th anniversary, and he spoke out about this, and that's why I think it was a great voice. This film is a great gift from God, and I thank those people who made it. It's really a blessing.
Father, thank you very much. And Natasha, thank you so much for your time today from the United Kingdom, as well as Ian and Dominic Higgins. And Filipa, thank you for joining us today from Portugal. I'd like to conclude with any last thoughts from Mark Brumley or Tony Ryan from Ignatius Press.
Well, I'll just say something brief and then let Tony wrap things up. I want to thank everybody as well. This isn't simply a movie. This is a message. We like movies. We produce movies. We watch movies, but this is a message, and the message is the message of Our Lady, the message of repentance, the message of transformation, and the message of peace. And so we're very honored to be able to distribute and promote this film to get this message across.
I also want to thank Natasha, the Higgins brothers, Filipa, Jane, and all those who worked so hard to make this beautiful film. We are, as Mark said, honored and enthusiastic at Ignatius Press about working to use this film to tell the beautiful story of Our Lady of Fatima, to spread the message, to make an impact on our culture and on the world. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, over there in Europe for your great work on this film. Thanks to all the media that joined us today. And, of course, thanks to our good friend and great priest and expert on Fatima, Father Andrew Apostoli, for his work in helping us with this. And we look forward to moving ahead in the future with this film and the message.
SQPN, leading the way in Catholic new media.